Okay guys, so as we should all know, Gennady Triple G Golovkin is facing Martin Murray for the WBA middleweight title this weekend. This is my prediction video, but we're going to do things kind of different from the Deontay Wilder versus Bermane Stiverne video that I did previously. This time we're just going to talk as the film is playing, so you're probably watching a couple clips right now of Gennady Golovkin destroying a number of people. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is just talk about what do I think is going to happen. Well, I'm going to come out here with a very bold prediction. Martin Murray has never been stopped before, but I truly believe Gennady Golovkin is going to stop Martin Murray within 7 rounds, and I'm going to explain to you why I think this is what's going to happen. But before I actually do that, let's talk about how Martin Murray can actually win this fight. First and foremost, we can obviously rule out Murray knocking out Gennady Golovkin because we know he just doesn't have the power to do this. He just doesn't punch hard enough. And so, of course, the logical thing is that the only way he can win this fight is by decision. He has to pull out a decision from somewhere in order to beat Gennady Golovkin, of course, in Monte Carlo in Monaco. The way he can do this, I believe, is based on that jab. Martin Murray has a good jab. And of course, he also has a longer reach than Gennady Golovkin. And he's slightly taller than Golovkin. So these physical attributes can allow Martin Murray, if he's intelligent with his jab, to actually maintain his distance with Gennady Golovkin. I believe the only way Martin Murray can win this fight is if he consistently moves while sticking that jab in Gennady Golovkin's face. He needs to keep that jab in Golovkin's face for the entire fight, and he also needs to use that lead hand in Golovkin's face. Even if he's not actually jabbing with that hand, he just needs to stick it out there and occupy Gennady Golovkin while maintaining constant movement throughout the entire fight. What this does is, this is going to prevent Gennady Golovkin from actually getting himself set, and it will prevent Golovkin from being able to sit down on his punches. And this could also frustrate Gennady Golovkin, and we may end up seeing Martin Murray create openings based on this frustration. However, I'm just going to quickly say that is probably unlikely because Golovkin is a very controlled and very experienced, seasoned guy, and I don't think he's going to get frustrated and begin to leave himself open. But what I am saying is, that is something Martin Murray has to try, and I believe he has to hope this is what will happen to Golovkin. By using his jab, moving around the ring, and in general fighting a very defensively intelligent fight versus Golovkin, Martin Murray can actually win a couple rounds, and if he wins those rounds, he can quite easily build up some kind of point differential and maybe, just maybe, pull out the win via decision. Now, if you watch Martin Murray in the Felix Sturm fight, or if you watch him versus Sergio Martinez, you will see that he likes to start most of his fights very slowly.
Murray landed the bigger punches, the more dramatic punches. He had the bigger momentum moments in his favor, but he didn't do enough. He was too slow to start, and he retreated inside himself in the championship round, so Martinez just eked it out. He didn't do enough. He was too slow to start.
Now, this can actually work against Martin Murray because if he starts this fight slow, Golovkin could probably end up outpointing him and winning most of those early rounds, which is going to make it much more difficult for Martin Murray to actually win this fight via decision. But I'm not trying to say that he needs to come out here being explosive and being aggressive, because that's just going to leave himself open to a guy who's an excellent counterpuncher like Gennady Golovkin. What I am saying is he needs to use that jab, and he needs to have a high punch rate in this fight, but with a lot of moving at the same time. He doesn't need to sit down as much on these punches. What he does need to do is try to outwork Gennady Golovkin in the first few rounds, because then, via the judge's eyes, he might actually be able to steal those rounds and begin to eke out some kind of decision versus Golovkin. And finally, Martin Murray sometimes likes to go into that high guard defense and cover up and then try and catch and shoot back in return. I don't think this is going to work versus Gennady Golovkin, because Golovkin knows his way around the high guard defense, and he's also a brilliant counterpuncher, and he knows how to create openings on his opponent. If Martin Murray is standing in the middle of the ring in a high guard defense trying to catch and shoot versus Gennady Golovkin, first and foremost, the power of Golovkin is going to very quickly overwhelm him. The thing about boxing is you don't even have to land on the head or on the body for your punches to take effect. If Golovkin is consistently punching Martin Murray to the arms and to the shoulders and to the forearms, he is going to be in for a very, very, very difficult night. Overall, I do believe Martin Murray is a step up in competition for Gennady Golovkin. This is by far probably his best opponent. When you're talking about Murray, you're talking about a guy who possibly beat Sergio Martinez. You're talking about a guy who probably did enough to beat Felix Sturm over there in Germany. But obviously we know that you're not going to get the decision in the hometown. You know, obviously when you go over to Germany, you're not going to get a decision. So a draw is actually kind of like a win for Martin Murray. This guy is no bum. This guy is no chump. This guy is coming to fight versus Golovkin, and he is a step up in competition. But of course, he isn't that caliber of opponent that we are still waiting for Gennady Triple G Golovkin to face. You know, someone like the likes of a Miguel Cotto. That's the kind of competition that we're looking for with Gennady Golovkin. But that should come in time. Okay, so now we're going to talk about what Golovkin needs to do to win this fight. In my opinion, Golovkin basically just has to be Gennady Golovkin. Let me remind you that Golovkin is simply one of the best pressure fighting counterpunchers in boxing, and his ability to maintain controlled aggression in the middleweight division is probably the best right now in that division. Let me remind you that Gennady Golovkin is an excellent counterpuncher. Let me remind you that Martin Murray has never faced anybody with the power of Gennady Golovkin. A lot of people love to talk about Golovkin being very easy to hit. This is of course not the case. Golovkin isn't actually as easy to hit as people like to think. His defense is very subtle, but a lot of the times people don't see him slipping punches, rolling punches off the shoulders, and doing all these different things. And his ability to block and then counter is very, very good. And a lot of people just don't give this guy credit for his defense. He isn't as easy to hit as people think he is. Do I think it's going to be an easy fight for Golovkin? Absolutely not the case. Do I think Golovkin is going to take some time to figure out his opponent? Yes, I do think so. Do I think that Martin Murray moving around the ring and using that jab can offset Gennady Golovkin's game plan? Yes, I do think so. But the thing about Golovkin is he is going to land that big punch on you. Every single time he fights somebody, he will land that big punch. And the question is, can Martin Murray take that punch? Make no mistake about it, Gennady Golovkin will land that punch. I truly believe that the most difficult opponent for Gennady Golovkin will be somebody who can actually force him to fight on the back foot. And this is something that I do not believe Martin Murray is going to be capable of. And this is why I am predicting a 7-round knockout for Gennady Golovkin. But if Golovkin gets Martin Murray out of the ring within 7 rounds, of course, I'm still going to claim that as a W for me because I'm predicting anything within 7 rounds. In the beginning of this video, I talked about how Martin Murray needs to move around the ring and make use of his jab. But of course, I can't end the video without talking about Gennady Golovkin's ability to cut the ring. So that shouldn't be too much of a problem versus Martin Murray because I believe Golovkin's going to cut the ring and it's going to land something big. And I simply think Golovkin's going to get to this guy and it's not going to go 12 rounds. That is my prediction. Let me know what you think. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. That's all I have for this video.
I'm talking tango and cash. Hit the bank, no mask. Out the freezer, cold cash. Put Grammy winners in cabs. Never happened twice. Gotta take a chance. Never end, never start. Got cars, I never start. No plan B, can't sleep. My mind racing.